Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on my channel, and welcome back to the second part of the tutorial series on how to set up a intranet using SharePoint Online in 2024. Right, so in the previous video I've made an introduction to this series. I've also explained what you're going to be going to expect to see in this series. And without further ado, let's jump into part two. And we're going to be starting with a short introduction of the SharePoint Admin Center. Now, the SharePoint Admin Center, or generally, let's just start at the beginning, right? In case you're not familiar with how Microsoft 365 is built up upon, there are different admin centers or admin consoles for different things, right? Yes, some of these admin consoles are used to manage multiple things, but there are, again, different admin centers for different things, right? So that's just a head start, right? So whenever you get into this first time, right, get yourself familiar with the structure of how Exchange Online and Microsoft 365 and how everything works and how everything is built up, right? So the SharePoint Admin Center is basically your, let's say centralized station where you can administrate and check up on all your things regarding your SharePoint, right? So you can adjust things like policies within the SharePoint universe you're using, right? So if you have an up and running collaboration platform using SharePoint with document sharing and management collaboration sites between different parts of your company or organization, you can administrate and check up on your policies, right? So there is different policies regarding sharing, who can view what and who has editing rights where and when. You could also specify things as in there is no external sharing allowed, or you could maybe leave it as in most permissive. Now the grounds on which I'm using it right now, this is just a demo account, right? So this isn't a up and running account. So I'm not going to be going into the itty grits of how you do everything. I'm just going to be guiding you guys through what you need to know, right? So important is obviously making sure that these policies are up to standard with your organization policies, right? So make sure you have a look at this. And then you can also check on things as an access control. You can use the settings to restrict how users are allowed within to access content in SharePoint and OneDrive. You can also check up on things as, say, for example, how much storage space should be allocated to each and every user for their specific SharePoint sites or OneDrive accounts. You can also further enhance or let's say upgrade your already existing storage space. Those are a few things you can do. You can use migration services from other sources, right? So as you can see here, there is a couple of them listed up. And then again, you have one thing which is sites, which is the first one, and I skipped this one intentionally because this is going to be probably the one where you're going to be looking into more than once. Right, so under sites, you can see all your active sites, right? So these are just a few. These all company sites are typically created standardized from Microsoft in the beginning. So whenever you start a new account and you're basically setting everything up, you will always see these all company sites, and it's mostly one or two of these are getting created in the beginning. These are just you can use them and edit them and do whatever you want with them, or you choose to create a separate one. Now, for this specific series, I'm going to be creating obviously separate ones. But on the top right, you see here, for example, your available storage space. So we have 1.24 terabytes available at the moment. And again, as I said, you could also enhance these later on. Now, these sites right here, you can get further into them, right? So you can, when you have your let's say you're making an intranet and you're using a communication site, and I'm going to get into a second into what a communication site actually is, right? So Whenever you get into this, you can change general site informations, right? So site name can be edited here. You can edit the actual URL, which is going to be the one used. You can edit a hub association. So whenever you register a site to a certain hub, you can edit this association. I'm not going to be getting into this. I'm going to make a separate video on what exactly is meant with hub association and what everything regarding that. You can edit in description, domain. If you have a custom domain, obviously you can put it in there, template, and so forth, right? You can also have a look at activity, how much files are stored, how much storage is used, and so forth, right? You can edit your members, right? So whichever member gets to be admin, owner, visitors, and so forth, right? Those are a few things you can edit. And you can also access general settings specific to this one site. Now, imagine you have a policy setup which is for your entire company. You can edit specific settings for this site only. So you can maybe, if on company grounds policies are tight, you can edit as an administrator things as external file sharing allowed to this specific page, right? So again, as you can see, those are a few things you can do within this within sites. And yeah, without further ado, now that we've looked at the SharePoint Admin Center, we're going to be jumping into the next step, or the first step basically. What do you need to do in order to get started with an intranet? Right, so we're going to head over, first things first, to SharePoint itself. So when you click on the top left on this dot button menu, you see down here it says SharePoint. And when you click on that, you will get to this site, right? So obviously we don't have anything here yet. And this will basically be your main command center where you can create a site. Now, a pro tip, you can also create a site here, right, under active sites. But we were going to be going through this step because this is where most people who aren't necessarily full admin within an organization will be able to land. Not everyone will have access to the SharePoint Admin Center, right? So once you're here, you click on the top left on Create Site. And first things, you will get two options. You will have the option to create a team site or a communication site. Now, what is the difference between the two, and how do they set each other apart from itself? Right, so a team site, as it says here, create a private space to collaborate with your team, track and stay updated on projects, data, and so forth. So basically, as an example, this is a general team site, right? So these are the things you're going to be getting when you're creating a team site at the first start. Now, there's already a few things pre-edited, so you will have a navigation created from Microsoft. You will have a few things, let's say widgets already in your main landing page, right? So this is basically how it looks. Now, you can go ahead and edit it from here, or you could leave it as it is and use it whatever way you like, right? So that's basically how a normal team site will look. Now, a communication site, on the other hand, looks like this. Now, when you're setting up, again, going back, when you're using one of these two, and we're going to show you this in a second, you will need to choose a layout, right? So a communication site with the first layout option will be looking like this, right? So you will have on the top here a widget which you can maybe use for news publishing and so forth, or publishing news within the organization or updates and everything. Then you will have or maybe like a heading, yeah, like some big informations which has to be displayed right at the top, right? Then you have a separate news widget where you can further in the course of using the intranet add news to the page, and you can do that on the top left. It says here plus new, and it says here news post, right? That's when you can edit a news post, and once you've finished editing it, it will show up here. You can also use an events calendar, so you can use an integrated calendar within SharePoint and get it set up and running. And this is just another widget view for your document library, which you can use for collaboration, right? So first things, you have to decide which one you want to choose. Now, generally, I would say
A communication site is the better option for the use as a landing page, right? So when you want to when you want to start up with an intranet, start with a communication site and set it later up as your landing page. And I'm going to show you where to do that. And because it has a bit more visualization options which you can choose, and in the main differences between the two, for example, your navigation cannot be changed, right? So your navigation has to stay on top in a communication side. As for the standardized team side, the communication which you see on top here, you can have it on the left side, right? So when we go here, you can change the look of the page, right? So when you go here, you see navigation, and we could choose it to be vertical or horizontal, right? And you could also change the menu style, right? So that's what you can do here. But on the communication side, however, you can not change it to a vertical navigation, right? You can switch off and on the side navigation visibility, yes, but you cannot change where it is, right? But you can change the menu style, right? And I'm going to show you later on, once you've finished a complete menu, and how everything is going to be looking with a finished setup. And I'm going to be structuring this according to how I built my latest intranet for an organization. So we're going to be going with a communication site. So when you click on here, it will ask you basically to choose a template, right? So you can use an organization template, and that is one thing I'm going to be going into a complete separate video on how to get it set up and running, and how to build an organization template and put it up on here. That's a whole different topic. Now, for the purpose of this video, we're going to be choosing one of these standard Microsoft templates, right? And I'm going to be choosing the standard communication one, which is the one I've just shown you. And once you choose that, you will basically get a preview of it. As you can see, site capabilities, promote upcoming events, and so forth. What's included, one home page, and so forth. So when you use this template, you will also be asked to enter a name for the site. And let's say you enter a name, and once you've done that, you can enter a site description, and you can also directly start putting up the URL which is going to be used in order to get to the site. Once you go to next, you can set up your main language. So obviously I'm based in Germany, hence German is going to be the selected language which gets used at the start, but obviously use it and change it to the language where you're based on. And once you've done that, hit create site, and you're good to go. Now I'm going to be showing you what you should be doing first things first when you set up your intranet, providing you've already established all your necessary policies and everything. Again, that's a different topic. I'm just going to be guiding you through the building process of how to build it and how to get it up and running, right? So this is the communication side we've just chosen, right? So you want this communication side down the line to be used as your main landing page, right? So what we're going to do this, we're going to go to settings on the top right, and then you go to site contents, right? So at site contents, you go to site pages. And as you can see here, there's already a few different things listed up here. I'm going to go into these further down the line within this series, right? So don't worry, I got you. Now we go to site pages. And as you can see, we only have one page at the moment, which is the one you've just seen. When you go here on the three dot menu, you will see on a dot on the bottom, it says make homepage. And once you click on that, this page is now the site homepage. Now, whenever you click now on this little icon on top left here, you will always get back to the main landing page. Now, that's the first thing. Now, a second thing, you want to change up things as a name, logo, make it more according to your colors, let's just say it like that, which you need within your company. Now, what I mean with that is, I'm going to show you. So we're going to go to change look. Now, as you can see, theme. The current selected theme is this one. I want to choose a black theme. Why? Because my logo is also different, right? So where is it? There is a site logo. So when we change it, I'm going to change that real quick. Boom. As you can see, I've inserted my logo from my channel, right? And as you can see, I'm using predominantly black colors, right? So obviously it's black background and so forth. Hence, I want my theme to be black also, right? So you can also change this one down here. I'm going to leave it white for the current situation. I might change it down the line. We're going to go ahead and keep it as it is, right? So that's one thing you should be doing in the beginning. Get a logo, put it in there. It just makes everything a bit more familiar. So we have the theme and the header. We've changed it already. We left it as is. Now the navigation, again, cascading and mega menu. I'm going to go with mega menu. You will see later on what it is. I might change it also to cascading. I'm going to show you once I've got this set up with sub pages and so forth, how it will look. For the moment, we're going to leave this as mega menu. And again, you also have a footer at the bottom, this one down here. You can change the color, you can change the display name, and so forth. You can also change it to simple or extended, right? I'm going to leave it as simple, and you can also put in a logo in there, which I'm going to do real quick. Boom. And as you can see on the bottom left, it will have my logo from my channel, Simon's Tech. And once we've done all of these, I'm going to go over to save, and we're done. Now, if you got this set up from the SharePoint admin center, you may want to adjust things for your site informations. So the name of the site may need to get adjusted. You can insert a site description, and you can also, if you have linked it to a hub, you can also get the hub site association and everything. Now, when you click on all site settings, you can see further settings which may need adjusting for your page. But for starters, this is already as good as it gets. Now, next thing, you may want to edit things as in your site permissions also, especially in the beginning when you're like setting everything up and you don't want people to maybe get on the page and everything through accident or whatever. Now, when you go on site permissions, you can see things as in site owners, obviously full control, and you can change things for site visitors and site members, right? Now, that's what you can do. You can also go to the advanced permission settings to get a further breakdown of everything, right? So that's one thing you may want to adjust in the beginning as well. Now, again, once you've created your communication site, you can also later on change your template, right? So in case you want to choose a different template, you can do that later on, right? So you can choose an event template, which is maybe based on a different purpose or built around a different purpose, right? So the good thing about these templates, they're already built around specific purposes for your intranet, right? So you can choose a different purpose. You could also choose something like this, a crisis management template, and so forth. Now, there is one key difference as well between a site, between a intranet team site and a communication site, right? So when we go to edit mode, right, you have your site setup, right? So on the left, as you can see here, where it says edit section on the first one, right? You can only choose these, right? So you have a one column site, you have a one third, two columns, three columns, right? So you can also choose to make it collapsible and so forth, right? That's one thing you can do here. However, when we go to the team site, on your team site, you can also do the same things. However, bearing in mind, if your navigation, right, so when you go and let's say we keep this standardized look, right? So we go to navigation and we leave it vertical, right? Save, and that's saved. And if you go to edit now, bearing in mind whatever setup you choose for your site section, right? So let's see, you choose one column or one third or whatever, right? You will always have the the navigation on the left, right? So keep that in mind when you're planning on doing things like this, right? Where it shows up on the full screen, or and depending on how you want it to look later on, right? So I mean, for certain cases, a horizontal navigation may be better, and for other cases, a header navigation may be better. So that's one of the things you want to be looking out for. And with that, we've covered the basics, right? The real basics of how to get started with an intranet using SharePoint Online. Those are a few things you want to be adjusting right from the get-go. And yeah, with that, I'm going to be saying goodbye to you guys. Thanks for tuning in on this episode of my tutorial series. On the next video, we're going to be going into more details, right? So I'm going to be guiding you guys in the next video through a basic setup on how I set up a previous intranet. We're going to be getting a few news sections added in. We're also going to be editing the header and how to make it look like a professional navigation and everything. And yeah, with that, thanks for tuning in. Take care of yourselves, and until next time.